about a term that we call outliers, which means something that's kind of lies outside of the norm, something that's unusual. So let's look at our picture again. If we look at these, we see in terms of the outlier, we have the number 9. That one, here we go. This one here is a bit unusual because the majority of our data happens between 1 and 6. So 9 would be considered an outlier. Write that here. The other question that we're asking ourselves, of course, is what happens most often? What response do we get most frequently? And we can see just from the way that these numbers are stacked up on top of each other, we can see that the highest stacks are the numbers 3 and 5. Those are our most common responses. And then lastly, we can talk about what is the middle value. So even though we're not quite ready to talk about average, can we talk about the middle value? Well, if we count these out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There are 13 data points. So the middle is going to be the 7th. So I would start down here and count up to find the 7th point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is our 7th data point, which happens to fall in the 4s column or in the 4s position. So our middle value is actually 4. So if we were to line up all of our data points, the middle response would be 4. And our outlier would be 9. Our most common responses would be 3 and 5. And that's how we use a line plot to make commentary on data. Now, just being able to gathering data is important, organizing data is important, and then the last thing that I mentioned is that it's important to be able to talk about data, to make meaning about that data. So it's important, whether as a parent or as a teacher, that when we start practicing with statistics or practicing with data organization, to start having conversations with them, like, well, what do you think if this was, if the situation was, how many movies have you seen in the last month? What does this tell us? What do you think? And have a conversation with multiple students, because each student let it be open-ended. Let them each answer in their own way and agree with each other or disagree with each other. And you might ask, well, why is that an important thing to do in school? Why shouldn't there just be one right answer? Like, what is the middle value? What is the outlier? Those are important questions too. Why have the open-ended questions? Well, from a real-world perspective, statistics shows up in situations like politics or advertisement. Areas where people are trying to communicate and usually try to convince you of something that they themselves are convinced of, that this is the best candidate, or that this policy is a bad or a good policy. Or in a commercial, they might be trying to say, our product is best, you should buy ours and not someone else's. Well, in order to be a good consumer, a informed voter, or just a good citizen in our nation or in the world, we need to be able to look at statistics and think about it from our own perspective, to say, do I agree with how this person is assessing the data? Do I think that they're putting a spin on it that is true or untrue? And starting with our young kids and asking them to think about data in the ways that it affects them, in the ways that they can make meaning out of it, is going to teach them how to be deep thinkers and how to question in an appropriate way the data that they're viewing, to agree or to disagree. So that is our video for Chapter 6. The rest of the information that we found to be most helpful should also be available to you within the chapter.